This week's quick reminder comes from John chapter 4, verse 6. We're going to look at different phrases in this verse over the next 3 weeks. It reads this way. Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. This statement is made to the disciples in the upper room just before Jesus is arrested. There's some things that he wants them to understand before this event takes place. And the first phrase I want us to look at is the simple two-word phrase, the way. Jesus says, I am the way. Which way are you going? Proverbs 16:25 says, there is a way which seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Sometimes it can be very easy for you and me to believe the way we're taking is the right way, when in truth, it's the absolute wrong way. For one of our school events, we brought the student body to the Frost Bank Center in San Antonio for the annual stock show rodeo. Arlene and I were a little late, and we were rushing into the arena. Both needed to go to the restroom. I saw the women's room, the large print women's over a door, and I pointed it out to Arlene, and she went through that door. Well, I went down to the next door and went in, only to come face to face with Arlene and another woman. Both doors went into the ladies' restroom. Well, I made a quick, embarrassing about-face and rushed out of the room, and I could hear the woman ask Arlene, are we in the wrong room? And Arlene simply replied, no, that's just my husband. Sometimes we find out that we've gone the wrong way, even though it seemed right. There's been a number of people who have come to speak with me over the years regarding decisions that they've made in life, thinking that it was the right way, even though Scripture, with these particular decisions, clearly told them different. And they made the decision only to find out they were believing and embracing a lie. And now they find themselves in a pit of quicksand that is unsettling and difficult to get out of. Which way are you going with the decisions that you have before you today? How do you choose which way to go? Well, Jesus tells us in Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 and 14, enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who enter through it. For the gate is small and the way is narrow that leads to life, and there are few who find it. Warren Wiersbe points out that the majority is not always right. The fact that everybody does it is not proof that what they are doing is right. When Galileo looked through his telescope and he saw evidence that the earth revolved around the sun and the earth was not actually the center of the universe, this put him at odds with the entire scientific and Roman Catholic Church of his day. Though the majority declared him wrong and placed him under house arrest for the rest of his life and forced him to recant, it didn't change what was right. The right way is not determined by majority or popular opinion. The majority can be mistaken, but the narrow way remains firm. The narrow way, when making decisions in life, is not always an easy way, but it is always the certain victorious way. David tells us in Psalm 23, the familiar shepherd psalm, starting off with, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And then jumping down a little bit in verse 3, he says, this shepherd, he guides me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And so we would think because we have a shepherd that brings to us a life of not wanting, and that he guides us in paths of righteousness for his name's sake, we automatically in our flesh would assume that that means everything's going to be fine. It's going to be an easy way. But he goes on to say in verse 4 of this psalm, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You see, going his way, going the right way of the shepherd, will involve at times the valley of the shadow of death, but this is not a place of defeat. It's a place of no fear for those who have put their faith in Jesus, for he is with us. And what is the victory that we are allowed, that we are so graciously and abundantly given? Well, verse 5 says, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. And listen to verse 6. Surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. There is certain victorious victory in the narrow way. Again, Jesus speaks of certain victory in tough times when he says in John 16, verse 33, these things I have spoken to you so that in me you may have peace. In the world you have tribulation, but take courage. I have overcome the world. There is certain victory in the narrow way. What makes the narrow path the right way? Well, simply because it is the way Jesus has gone and has prepared for you and for me. In Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 15, we read, for we in the book of Hebrews are believers, so we Christians, for we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who has been tempted in all things as we are, yet without sin. He does not only know about these decisions that need to be made, he knows what it is to make these decisions. For it tells us here, he has been tempted in all things, yet without sin. He knows how to face these things, fight with them, and defeat them. And so verse 16 says, therefore, let us draw near with confidence to the throne of grace, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in the time of need. What makes the narrow path the victorious right path? Because Jesus has made it so. And so now today, believer, choose to enter into this throne room, to go the narrow way, and know the victory that is only found with Christ. Which way are you going? My name is Kelly Daugherty, and I'm the host of the His Hill podcast. And this has been a quick reminder of that ministry. If you would like to get in touch with me, you can do so by email. That address is Kelly, Kelly, @hishill.org. Thanks for listening. And remember, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus.